All right, I will call the February 10th meeting of the Newtown Township Board of Supervisors to order. I will note that the board did meet in executive session at 6 p.m. where we discussed the following zoning hearing board cases: 307 First Avenue, 4224 Westchester Pike, 3655 Waynesfield Drive, 3734 Westchester Pike, and one personnel matter which related to a disability issue. With that being said, Mr. Nease, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Altieri,
Here.
Ms. Roberts Lightcap,
Here.
Ms. Chandlis, Mr. Russo.
Here.
Mr. San Francesco is not here this evening. Your engineer, manager, and solicitor are here.
Thank you very much. We'll now move down to 5.1. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Chandlis. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Section 6, public comment for agenda items only. If there, moment of silence. Well, let me just finish that real quick. Public comment for agenda items only. If there's any members of the public who have anything that they wish to provide, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. I will have you wait until we get to the actual escrow releases. Do you want to talk about it? I think it probably just makes more sense to talk about it when we get to the escrow releases. Is that fine?
Sure.
Yeah.
During.
I'll call, we'll get to the agenda item and then I'll have you talk then. Yep, no problem. Any other public comment? All right, we'll move back up to section 4, which is the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll take a moment of silence right now for the Kansas City Chiefs fans, who I hope are suffering as much as they can suffer with their loss here last night. And we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Section 7, 7.1, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the January 27, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
Motion was made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Chandlis. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Section 8, reports. Report from the Township Engineer, Mr. Johnson.
Hi, good evening. Just a quick update on a few projects. The Water's Edge Stormwater Project we've had a pre-construction meeting that's tentatively scheduled to begin on February, the week of the 24th. And then shortly thereafter, the St. Albans Stormwater Project should be beginning in early March. We're just working through final submittals and details with the contractors now.
The one at Upper St. Albans, what work is it's that pipe, right? Is that what we're doing?
That is the replacement and extension of the storm sewer system to help capture the water that's currently bypassing and overwhelming some of the neighborhood.
Got it. Perfect. Any other questions for Mr. Johnson? Seeing none, we'll move down to the report from the administration. Mr. Nease.
Yes, I have some really good news for you. Our pension plans from last year, both of them saw returns in the 6.5% or 16.5% range, which is really great news for us. We haven't gotten the final report that we get every 2 years that shows where the pension plans are, but I've been told that we're going to see very positive numbers. Probably, if we're not 100% funded, we'll be at the very high 90s for both pension plans. And we'll probably have some recommendations for you. As we get closer to that time, I'll bring in our pension investment team to come in and give a presentation to you. But I just wanted to let you know, because of the board's continuing diligence in making sure that we keep our pension plan funded, because you made the decision to do it at a market value, we ended up having a really good year, which will allow us to be able to adjust what our contributions are next year, probably down significantly. So thank you.
Any questions for the township manager? I think we'll save a lot of our questions for when we have the pension people come in, but it is indeed good news. Section 9, bills, 9.1. I've reviewed the bills and I'll make a motion to approve the bills on 2020, the 2024 bills on check register A dated February 10, 2025, totaling $26,591.21. Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor Chandler. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. 9.2. I'll make a motion to approve the bills, the 2025 bills on check register A dated February 10th, 2025, totaling $235,734.23. Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor Chandler. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. 9.3. I'll make a motion to ratify the bills on EFT register dated February 10th, 2025, totaling $2,055.17. Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor Chandler. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Section 10, developer release. So 10.1 is the approval of escrow reduction number 14, the final reduction totaling $44,658.81 for Toll Brothers associated with the Lister Phase 1 project as approved by Stantec Engineering. We have Giovanna, who is the engineer for Stantec, online. We also have a representative from Toll here as well, who I will allow to speak as well. So Giovanna, I don't know if you want to go first. I don't know if Supervisor Russo has questions, but we'll let you go first, Giovanna, if there's anything to add, and then we'll turn it over to the board.
I would like her to walk us through each one and explain what each one of these things is for. And
Sure.
and if there's been correct and all the corrective work's done and all that, and this is the final, it says final, so I assume there's no more money held on any of these.
So it is final for all four of the bonds, and then there is a separate letter for a separate cash escrow for the remaining punch list items. So the bulk of the work has been done. The first escrow release for phase 1 was for sidewalk signage, some inspection fees and as-built drawings, which was very similar to the remaining escrows. Phase 2 was also sidewalk inspections, as-built drawings. Phase 3 was landscaping, which was reviewed by John Hosbach, and he signed off on the landscaping, signage, inspection, and as-builts. And phase 4 was sidewalk, landscaping, and as-builts. So because these bonds have been out there for, 10 plus years at this point, Toll requested a final release for all of the bonds. And then there are a few items which remain on our punch list, the majority of which are signage related, some street signs missing, and some corrective measures for 2 stormwater facilities. And then another stormwater system is waiting for the grass to grow, essentially. And we're also in the process of reviewing as-built drawings. So in order to close out all the escrows, Toll put together an estimate of cost for the remaining punch list items, which we have reviewed and determined that a separate cash escrow in the amount of $66,687 should be posted to cover the remaining punch list items.
They're all in compliance and are good.
Yes, I missed the first part of your statement. You were a little bit
I
cut off.
said, are all these underground systems tested and videoed and everything, that they're all good and they're working and everything?
Yeah, they as part of the MPDS permit, their design engineer is required to sign off on everything. And there were 2 systems which they found which were not draining down in an adequate amount of time. So they are currently, they started this week actually repairing those 2 systems. But everything that we've seen from our inspections and everything that the design engineer has seen has determined that everything else is functioning.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
You want to add anything? There you go. Good way to start that off. Just state your name and your title for the record, so we have it.
Justin Hunt with Toll Brothers. Appreciate the opportunity to come back out tonight and just finalize some things. Appreciate your time, G. Appreciate your help throughout the project. I'd like to just quickly just kind of summarize again why we're here, what we've done since December, and I'm here to answer any questions, detailed, questions, but G did a great job.
And Justin, I don't mean to cut you off, but just by way of background, I should have done this at the beginning for the board. This
Yeah.
was originally on the agenda in December. The vote was 2-2, so it failed. And then so Justin, Supervisor Russo requested that Giovanna be present so that he could ask questions, which no one had any objection to. We brought it back to a date that worked for all parties where everybody could be available. So today's the day that worked, which is why we're going through this exercise now. So Justin.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Perfect. So yeah, a couple things were raised last meeting. As G mentioned, in regards to the work at Natural Lands, which is the work in the existing wooded areas. We did finish that work since our last meeting, and John Hasback did issue a certificate of completion on January 9th. I know Leonard has a copy of that. I didn't see it in your packet for tonight, but that letter is available. And that is basically memorializing the completion of Toll's obligation at the natural lands, and the end user is the HOA. They would take over from this point forward. Again, we were working under the guise of the township's consultant, John Hasback, which is the reason he wrote the certificate of completion. There was one specific zone down at the Goshen entrance to the immediate right as you enter. If you know Janet Evans, she lives on the corner there, very large house. We were instructed to down the trees and leave them as they lay. And that's what we did throughout the entire project. That zone in particular is pretty much surrounded by roadway on 3 of the 4 sides and is very heavily visible. So Toll removed the downed trees as a courtesy, primarily for Janet, but also it's the main entrance or one of the main entrances of the project. We thought that was the right thing to do. So that's zone 5. That additional work has been completed.
There was also an encroachment issue there too, right?
Yeah, so that's the second, my second point here. There is some encroachment on lot 441, which is Janet's house.
Yeah.
And 442, which is the Stanley's house.
Yep.
So I've met with both of those folks. The Stanleys had about 10% of their far right corner encroached upon. Some of the natural lands had encroached on their lot, and those natural lands were removed, and it was on their lot. So they've submitted a landscape plan for Toll to complete in the spring, which we've agreed to. That's the Stanleys. Janet will be doing the same. Janet also had an existing structure that was encountered on her lot. When we cleared the brush, it was made visible. So I went back and I checked the existing conditions plan. It's actually not shown on the plan. It's not on the demolition plan, so it was not missed, but we of course did go remove it for her. So that work has been completed as well.
It was like a little hut, right? Like a milk thing, right? It was pretty much underground a little bit. So that's been removed.
100% removed. It was below grade.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was, but it was certainly some sort of building. You could walk down inside of it. And it was not tiny. So that was the right thing to do. We removed that for her. And
Yeah, it's probably one of the cold, when they used it for cold storage.
it could have been.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably what that was.
Yeah. So I just wanted to.
Whatever happened to the old Schultz house
Whose house?
where the murder was? Schultz house, it was all,
Down.
Yeah, that
no,
was,
but they had all, there was, I told you, there was caution tape and everything there when I drove by it back. Has that been, Giovanna, have you walked over there? You say you were gonna go look at that when you were on site next? Or you're gonna send one of your people?
I didn't know which structure you were talking about. You mentioned a structure.
It's
We're not
next
clear
to,
on where
that's
it
next
was.
to where we let them tear the big barn down. This is where Dan Schultz, the wrestler guy was killed.
Yeah, no, I know it came down. I'm not sure about the caution tape. So now that I know exactly which property you're
Well, I'd
talking
like you
about.
to look at it and just see if it's safed off. I mean, it is, I guess, in the open space area, but it's to the right of that Rockwell Farm Drive. When you go up, you know where the placard is for the old barn. It's right to the right of that, going towards 252.
Okay, we will take a look now that I know exactly which structure you're referring to.
Thank you.
Everything was supposed to come down, so if it's caution taped off, it probably just needs to be, you know,
I just don't know if
cleaned
it's,
up.
I mean, I've never walked over there, but I mean, you can see it from the road, so,
Yeah, from 252, you said?
no, from Goshen Road.
From
When you go in
Goshen?
Rockwell Farm Road, there was a huge barn there that was removed. To the right of that, there was a house there where Dan Schultz, the wrestler, lived. And there was all kinds of stone foundation that was just left there. I don't know if it was leveled off or what it was done, but we should just make sure it's safe, whatever it is. If it's gotta be leveled, if it's safe the way it is, it's fine. Just get the tape out of there.
And then also just, so we're here tonight for the 4 bond releases, as G mentioned, just to give everyone an order of magnitude. 21 million was posted over a decade ago, and we're talking about 194,000 today, to bring us down to 0. And as G mentioned, we've posted 66,000 and change for 4 trailing items, some pavers at the Route 252 main entrance, the infiltration berms that I mentioned last meeting, the 2 facilities that needed to be retrofit, which is active currently, and the final review of the as-built. We've been working with G on the as-built. Obviously, it's a massive project, so it takes time. We've been back and forth, and we feel we're very close. So we knew those 4 items would trail, and that's what the posted cash is for. So I just wanted to just again explain those items, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, and I appreciate your time.
Justin, you did already post that cash, correct?
We did, and
Yeah.
indicated it was.
That's correct.
Just want to make sure the board's aware of that.
Yep. Thank you.
Any questions from the board for Justin or Giovanna? Mr. Neese, you have anything you want to add or supplement, or are you fine? Or just supplement, I should say.
I have nothing to add.
Perfect. 10.1, can I get a motion approving escrow reduction number 14, the final reduction totaling $44,658.81 for Toll Brothers associated with the Lister Phase 1 project as approved by Stantec Engineering?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any further board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. 10.2, can I get a motion approving escrow reduction number 7, the final reduction totaling $14,140.38 for Toll Brothers associated with the Lister Phase 2 project as approved by Stantec Engineering?
So moved.
Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. 10.3, can I get a motion approving escrow reduction number 7, the final reduction totaling $24,119.20 for Toll Brothers associated with the Lister Phase 3 project as approved by Stantec Engineering?
So moved.
Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. 10.4, can I get a motion approving escrow reduction number 8, the final reduction totaling $111,156.21 for Toll Brothers associated with the Lister Phase 4 project as approved by Stantec Engineering? Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Section 11, thank you, Giovanna.
Thank you,
Section
guys.
11 Section 11, new business, 11.1. Can I get a motion authorizing Public Works and Engineering staff to develop the 2025 road program? The following roads would potentially be included: Earls Lane, Sugar Maple Drive, Aspen Drive, Sawmill Road. The portion of Sawmill Road from the bottom of the hill below Timber Lane to the border of Radnor Township. Motion was made by Supervisor Russo. Is there a second? Seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any board discussion? Just want to note that this proposed listing of roads represents around 10,300 linear feet, or approximately 1.95 miles of the township's 52.88 miles of roadway. So I want to just note that for the record. Mr. Neese, you have anything you need to add to this?
No, what we're hoping to do, though, is get this kind of prepared early. We know some of the other municipalities around us go out to bid We'd like to join them if they're willing, hopefully to get a lower bid because it's a joint bid together. So that's what we're trying to do.
Perfect. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries. 12.2, can I get a motion approving the 2024 Newtown Township tax abatement credits for various fire company members that have achieved the necessary annual service points, which total $16,774.64. The motion was made by Supervisor Robert Ligap, seconded by Supervisor Chandler. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Section 12, resolutions of legislation in action. 12.1, consider approving resolution 2025-07, reimbursement financing for the new fire truck. And that resolution states that a resolution declares the official intent of the Township of Newtown to reimburse expenditures for certain capital projects from the proceeds of general obligation notes the township expects to issue within the next 12 months, and that declares the intent of the township to comply with the reimbursement regulations of the Internal Revenue Code. In the advice of counsel, there's no need to read that since it is provided publicly online. Motion is made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Chandler. Mr. Neese, do you need to add anything to this?
I would just add that if you recall, we actually took a vote and did this a little bit earlier. We actually were ahead of the actual expenditure. And you approved the expenditure last meeting. We issued the check to for the fire truck. And so now we have to officially do this again because we were trying to be proactive, and you can't do it before you actually spend the money. So we now have spent the money and we're going to do that. And then just so you know, we're working with Del Val to financing authority to get the funding for this truck so that we can support our fire company.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neese. Any other board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries. We'll now move down to section 13, board comment. The only board comment that I have is if everybody remembers back in, I think it was November, the township board of supervisors adopted a new stormwater ordinance. That stormwater ordinance increased our riparian buffers from 50 to 100 feet. After we passed that, we had applications filed very quickly to vest under the old ordinance. The way that the second class township code reads with regards to effective date of ordinances, it says that ordinances become effective 5 days after the date that the governing body votes on it. I found that to be annoying. I confirmed that language was correct with our solicitor and then started doing some research and found that the first class township and the borough code do not have that language. Instead, first class township states that it becomes effective immediately, as does the borough code. So doing what our founding fathers intended, I reached out to our state representative and I said, hey, I think this is ridiculous and antiquated. I think this is something that should change to align the second class township to the rest of the municipalities in the Commonwealth. And so our state rep, Lisa Borowski, introduced legislation to remove just 5 words in the statute that would allow ordinances to become effective immediately, to put us in line to what the first class township has and what the borough code has. She introduced that legislation in January. It was before the House Local Government Committee on Wednesday of last week, House Bill 209. I was up there on Wednesday. I testified before the House Local Government Committee. Supervisor San Francisco attended as well. Happy to report that legislation moved out of committee on a unanimous bipartisan support. It now moves to the full House, where hopefully the first reading will happen, or the second reading will happen in February 17th. It is something that is supported by the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors. So they are lobbying for its approval. It's just interesting that 44% of the Commonwealth's population lives in a second class township, and we had that antiquated language in there. So if it wasn't for us passing that stormwater ordinance here in Newtown Township and finding out that it doesn't become effective until 5 days later, that process would never have began. So we're hopeful that we can get it through the House and then we start that process over again in the Senate. which I'll keep everybody up to date on, but it's exciting. It's been a fun process, and it's a good piece of common sense legislation, quite frankly, for the Commonwealth. Section 14 is public comment. Is there any members of the public who wish to provide any public comment? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.